When you scroll through endless listings of commercial refrigerators, you start to feel that familiar itch. The pictures make everything look slick, the LED lights promise a showroom shine, and the dimensions seem perfect for your Cu.ft corner. Then you remember the last time you bought a display fridge that looked great on the page but turned out to be a heat-leaking nightmare, or the shelving fell apart after a few weeks of heavy bottles. That buyer's remorse feeling is exactly why I'm sitting down today with a real-world perspective on the FreezLabs glass door refrigerator. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a solid day walking through a couple of coffee shops and a small bakery that already have this unit on their floor, and I'll tell you what matters when you actually have to pull a case of craft sodas out of a glass door fridge in the middle of a rush. First off, the biggest hesitation people have with any commercial display fridge is the balance between visibility and temperature stability. The FreezLabs model touts a glass front and top-mount LED lighting so customers can see your drinks without opening the door. In practice, that visibility works once the unit is running, the light spreads evenly across the interior, and the glass is thick enough that fingerprints don't show up like they do on cheaper acrylic fronts. But that same glass also acts as a conduit for heat, especially in a hot kitchen environment. The reviewers I talked to said they set the unit in a back-of-house room that stays around 78 F, and the digital temperature control kept the interior at a steady 38 F after a half-hour warm-up. If you're planning to place the fridge on a shop floor that gets direct sunlight or near a stove, you'll need to give it a few extra minutes to settle, or consider a shade panel. The bottom line: the fridge does a solid job maintaining temperature, but you can't ignore the ambient heat factor. Now, who should actually buy this thing? If you run a Cu.ft, a small bar, or a boutique bakery that wants to showcase bottled drinks, craft sodas, or even chilled desserts, the 11 cubic foot capacity hits a sweet spot. The 5 adjustable shelves let you line up 12-ounce soda cans in 2 rows, or you can flip a few shelves to accommodate taller bottles like kombucha. One of the shop owners pointed out that he can fit a full case of 24-pack cans on the bottom shelf and still have room for a few decorative jars on the top without crowding. For a food service operation that needs to keep inventory visible and easily reachable, that flexibility is a win. On the other side of the equation, if you're a homebrew enthusiast looking for a compact minibar to stash a few kegs, you'll probably want to look elsewhere. The unit's glass door is heavy. The whole fridge weighs close to 250 pounds, so moving it is a 2-person job. The floor space requirement is also non-trivial, about 3 feet wide, 2 feet deep, and a foot tall off the ground for the door hinge clearance. In a tight kitchen or a rental apartment, that footprint can be a deal-breaker. Also, the unit is built for commercial use, which means the power draw is higher than a residential fridge of similar size. If you're plugging it into a standard 120-volt outlet, expect a louder compressor that can be a bit noisy during peak hours. Let's talk about practical strengths. The first thing that caught my eye was the dual-layer glass paired with a powder-coated steel cabinet. The steel is thick enough that when you tap the side, it doesn't dent easily, and the powder coating resists the usual rust spots that show up on cheaper models after a few months of humidity. In the 2 locations I visited, the doors had been opened dozens of times a day, yet the hinges remained tight and the seals showed no wear. The LED lighting is another highlight because it's positioned at the top. The light doesn't glare directly into the eyes of a customer walking by, making the display look inviting without being harsh. The digital temperature panel is intuitive. You just spin the knob, and the readout shows the current temperature with a quick blink when the compressor cycles. There's no confusing menu system, which is a relief for staff who aren't tech-savvy. Every product has a trade-off, and the FreezLabs fridge is no different. The main weakness you'll notice after a few weeks is the door seal. The glass door uses a standard rubber gasket, which works fine in normal usage, but if you constantly slam the door to restock during a busy lunch rush, the seal can lose its tightness quicker than a metal door unit. In one shop, the manager mentioned that after 3 months of daily heavy use, they needed to replace the gasket, something you can do yourself, but it's an extra maintenance step. Another nuance is the noise level. The compressor hums louder than a residential unit, especially when the temperature drops rapidly after you load a warm case of drinks. It's not a deal breaker.